Have you ever wanted to follow one of your Sims on Chirper? In Cities Skylines 2, you can. You can stay up to date with their chirps, their education, their employment, and much, much more. Let's take a deep dive on the citizen simulation in Cities Skylines 2.
You might think that city building is all about glass and steel, bricks and mortar, tarmac, smokestacks, and iron tracks. But it's also about joy and laughter, sadness and tears, struggles, triumphs, even love.
And if you're me trying to build a city, you've got more of the latter and less of the former.
That's because city building is about people. While the behavior of your city citizens is rooted in deep simulation, they aren't guided by ones and zeros. They follow very real human impulses on their life path. A life path encompasses major events that shape their lives. It starts with being born in or moving to your city. Everything after that, from their first day of school to college graduation, their first big promotion to retirement, their nervous first date to tying the knot, is just another step on their life path. Most days will be uneventful. Citizens will follow a routine of attending school, working, and spending free time with friends and family. But like the rest of us, they'll have good days and bad. Citizens can fall ill, suffer accidents, lose their job and become homeless, commit crimes and face the consequences.
By the sounds of things so far, there's almost a Sims-style simulation going on under the hood here, with each sim having their own set of wants and needs, all influenced by the type of city that you build and the services within. That's honestly a micro level of management that goes well above and beyond anything I would expect in a game like this. It's not super uncommon to have light systems that allude to these kinds of things, like how you can see where someone lives, works, and what they're currently up to in Cities Skylines 1, or a similar mechanic in a game like Banished. At the very least, this is a huge step forward when compared to the bare bones system in SimCity 2013, where Sims would only ever look for the nearest available home and job every single day, rather than them actually having a set home and a set workplace.
On the flip side, citizens reap the benefits when your city thrives. These happy citizens stay and contribute as they get older, until it's their time to line up at heaven's pearly gates. Happiness is something you can actually measure in Cities Skylines 2. It's a score that tallies an individual's health and well-being. You can track happiness on each citizen's information panel. View the panel for their household to learn what's contributing or detracting from their collective happiness. Get the basics right, and citizens will basically be happy.
So the proximity to and availability of certain services will influence just how happy your Sims happen to be. If they have a spacious home, they will have a bonus to their happiness. And in the same way, reliable mail services, fair taxes, and an abundance of available entertainment will boost their happiness. On the flip side, having unreliable healthcare or high noise pollution will result in a drop in their overall happiness. If we take what we've learned in these videos so far, then in theory, you can influence the various buffs and debuffs via things like better public transport, granting your Sims easier access to the things that they enjoy. Similarly, you could influence it by carefully balancing the taxes across the different industries and education levels. Basically, we're getting to the point of these feature highlight and developer insight videos where everything is really coming together to demonstrate just how tightly interwoven all of the mechanics in Cities Skylines 2 actually happen to be.
Ensure they have a reliable electricity supply, clean water, decent plumbing, and regular garbage collection. Minimize ground, air, and noise pollution. Keep a lid on crime so citizens feel safe. High-speed internet is pretty much a must-have, and so is a suitable home. Families need space, so they'll benefit from living in larger homes in low-density areas where kids can roam freely. Small apartments are best for singles and students who want low rents in busy areas where they can go out and socialize. Healthcare is non-negotiable. Without it, citizens can die from illness and injuries. Even with good sanitation and low pollution, citizens need medical facilities near enough to travel on their own steam or by ambulance for routine care. This is especially important for your city's elderly population, whose health won't always be tip-top. Seniors are actually in the last of the 4 life stages your citizens will experience. They might even live in a multi-generational home with citizens in the other life stages, including children, teens, and adults. And look out for 4-legged family members too. Keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening with your citizens by viewing their Life Path Journal. It records everything that happens to them from the moment you click follow. It'll show you personal details, their happiness score, and their Chirper feed.
Okay, so as happens sometimes, we have a lot to unpack about everything that we just heard. Obviously, some of it is a repeat of what I've already talked about with regards to the wants, the needs, and the influence of various services on the overall happiness. Naturally, access to electricity, clean water, and the basic essentials will always make your Sims happy, but that's just the basics. What I really want to focus on, though, just for a moment, and this sort of circles back to my point about a Sims-style simulation, is the fact that you can kind of follow your specific Sims as they exist in your city. And in theory, you can do it from the moment that they're born or arrive right up until they leave, however that may be. Some of this info does return from City Skylines 1, like the residence or the career, but unless I'm mistaken and I'm misremembering, the wealth level is new, and obviously the happiness rating works completely differently this time around. And on the right of the info that we can see right here for Nova Linus, we can see their chirps as well, which is not totally dissimilar to City Skylines 1, but this time around the chirps seem to be more dynamic and they're related to more of what's going on in your city, as well as painting a picture of the Sims' life as well. So in this case, we can see that Nova moved in with Karen Mason in March of 2031, which is lovely. But I suppose we should hear a little bit more about all of this Chirper business. So let's have a listen.
Oh, and one more thing. Chirper is back. Expanded and better integrated, Chirper now gives citizens a voice. They'll talk about what's going on in their lives and what's happening in the city. If their chirps get likes, you know just how important that topic is to them and other citizens. This can be helpful when they chirp to complain about underperforming city services and applaud their excellent work. When it comes to the health, well-being, and happiness of your citizens, think quality, not quantity. By creating places, spaces, and experiences that enrich their lives, you'll discover what city building is all about.
And so obviously right there, we got the confirmation about Chirper both being back and better than ever. It's sounding like it's also going to be a really important tool this time around for figuring out what's going on in your city, where it's going on, and how it's going, whether it's going good or bad. Beyond that, the mention of quality over quantity, I should say, is a nod, I think, to the idea that a solid road network can and will expand the reach and effectiveness of your different services across the city, along with using the district tools if needed to assign certain services to specific areas. Plus, let's not forget that an affordable and effective transport network will get your Sims out and moving more as well. So a school that's a bit further away on the outskirts of your city might still be a great option for a Sim living downtown, so long as the public transport is there to get them there, or the road networks and infrastructure exist to get them there. As long as it's not a ridiculous journey, they might still be inclined to make that journey.
Today we're going to talk about citizens. Let's see, how am I gonna put my hands like?
Yeah, that's good.
So, Skylines 2.
You can be like this.
Yeah, maybe I can be just like this. Yeah. Yeah. In the game, you can select a citizen and then click their panel to follow that citizen. The citizen is then added to the life path journal, and the journal tracks their life and records the main events in each of the tracked citizens' lives. These can be finding a new job, or moving to a new place, or finding that special someone.
So if I'm completely honest, I've not actually done a whole lot with the following specific Sims thing just yet. But in the time spent putting together this video, I am convinced and honestly excited to just jump into Cities Skylines 2 and try it out. Even from a content creator point of view, being able to make a segment in a video about checking in on some of the regular Sims to see how they're doing sounds like a lot of fun and just really wholesome. I won't be surprised if that's a thing that a lot of YouTubers do, is they have specific Sims that they check in on, or Twitch streamers start naming the Sims after their subscribers and check in on them. Like, there's so much you can do as a creator to make it a part of your content, and that's exciting. And I've also realized I use the word content, and I hate the word content to describe YouTube video. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. It's just, it's so dehumanizing. Anyway, that's what it sounds like to me. It reminds me of when you would import your Sims into SimCity way back in the day and be able to follow them around and just see what they're doing and see how they're reacting to and enjoying everything that you build. I'm really excited to see how this system works and see more of it and just play around with it. And I want to see what everyone else does with it as well.
While happiness was an important aspect in Cities Skylines 1, we have greatly improved on it in Cities Skylines 2. Happiness is made of the citizens' well-being and health. Well-being is affected by the availability of basic services. It is also affected by the crime rate of the city. Health, on the other hand, is affected by healthcare and its availability, as well as the amount of different types of pollutions that are around the citizens. Citizens can also become sick or injured in an accident or a disaster, such as a building collapse or a tornado.
Now, we have talked a lot today about happiness already, but I do think it's important to keep in mind that it's not just as simple as plopping a park or two nearby a house to boost happiness. Yes, that will make your Sims a little bit happier, but only to a point. It's not exactly the way it was in Cities Skylines 1. At least, I know that's what I did in Cities Skylines 1. If people were miserable, it was, hey, here's, 6 plazas to surround your urban or suburban house. That's just how it was. But now there are so many different factors that can and will influence the overall happiness of your individual Sims. And it's a real balancing act to stay on top of all of that. But that challenge is nice, and I think it's good. Once again, it's addressing some of the simplicity of Cities Skylines 1, and it's expanding on systems that we already sort of know and that we're already kind of familiar with. The same applies to healthcare to a degree. Proximity and or ease of access to healthcare is going to be important, as well as proximity to industrial buildings and the pollution that they produce, or even just the direction of the wind in relation to your residential zoning. If you have industry in the, say, the south and the wind is blowing towards the north, and you have residential zoning just a little bit to the north, then the pollution is going to be blown that way, and that's a problem as well. All of these things will impact the overall healthcare satisfaction of your, or the healthcare level or status or whatever you want to call it, of your Sims. It's all important. It all comes together, and it's all creating this really, really in-depth simulation that really does go above and beyond what I thought this game was going to do.
Citizens are divided into 4 age groups. These are children, teens, adults, and seniors. Households can comprise different types of citizens. Some can be just single adults, while others are a couple. There can also be families with children, and there can also be multi-generational households, which includes children, parents, and their grandparents. Also, you are all super excited to hear that the Chirper is back. The Chirper shows you the chirps from the citizens as well as businesses and city services. Especially those of the citizens are important in that they will show you what's happening in the city and how the citizens feel about it. They can send positive or negative chirps. And if you look at the like ratio on the chirp, you can kind of sense whether that subject matter is important to the citizens or not. And, well, it started as a bug, but we liked it so much that you can actually like the chirps yourself as the mayor.
So when it comes to the whole Chirper thing, I think the idea here is obviously for it to be useful and not frustrating and annoying. It's not going to be like real life Twitter where people lose their minds over the simplest things, although I haven't necessarily played enough Cities Skylines 2 to be able to say that for sure yet. Funnily enough, and yes, I'm making this comparison again, it's actually not entirely different to how Sims in SimCity 2013 would give you their feedback on things, and you would see pop-ups that were like, I really love that new thing that you built. It was a good way of knowing that you were on the right path. It was a good way of knowing that you were doing the right thing. So I assume that's what Chirper is going to do. It's sort of a guiding hand that you can pay attention to if you want to, or you can ignore if you want to, but it is going to guide you in the direction that your Sims and the simulation wants you to go.
In the game, we feature 5 different levels of education. These are uneducated, poorly educated, educated, well-educated, and highly educated. And each of these education levels is matched with a school. Each citizen from teenager onwards decide whether they go to school or a job based on the potential wage they will gain in the future in a high educated job compared to the wage that they will earn if they go now to a low educated job. If a citizen's well-being decreases enough, they can become a criminal. Once they become criminals, they start plotting a crime. And the targets of the crime usually are found in areas of high crime probability. When a citizen commits a crime, the police are sent to the location to secure the crime scene. If the criminal is still in the premises when the police arrive, they will arrest them. The criminal is then taken to the police station jail, and some of the criminals there will then be sentenced to longer prison time in either the prison that is located in the city, or if there is no prison in the city, they are sent to outside connections. After they have served their time, the former criminals return to the society and their criminal status is removed, and they become, again, normal citizens.
Having your Sims weighing up future wages versus the immediate potential wages to determine if they will pursue education or work is wild and mind-blowing, and I don't know if I know enough about the economy or psychology or people to really comment too much on that, and doubly so given the privileged and lucky career that I find myself in. That said, once again, that's going to make for a very interesting balancing act across your city as it develops and grows. Now, aside from that, I think it's also interesting to have the potential for your Sims to bounce back from hard times. I think that's important. That is an important part of anyone's life, is getting through the struggles. And if we're going to talk about the citizen simulation, if we're going to look at each individual in a game like this and simulate all of these potential paths for them to take, then having them recover from those hard times is important. That is a thing that happens in real life. I suppose this ties in again to the idea of following specific citizens. You could, in theory, follow them as they turn to a life of crime and end up in prison. And then when they get out, they start to rebuild their life, and you can follow that story as well. This is all so much more than I thought Cities Skylines would do with the citizen simulation, but it's a very welcome addition. And I almost hope that other city builders over the coming years look at what Cities Skylines is doing and say, hey, there's some amazing ideas in there. What if we took, because here's the thing, a lot of these ideas are really well fleshed out in Cities Skylines 2, but in theory, you could take any handful of them, put them in a city builder and develop those things further, and you would still have a fantastic city builder. Cities Skylines 2 is doing a lot of amazing things. You could still take a handful and have an amazing game. So having another city builder that takes just this like level of citizen simulation and lets you play with it Sounds like a really cool time. Also, Paradox is doing a Sims-like game called Life by You, so I would love it if they did have that integration where you could take a character from Life by You and put them into Cities Skylines 2. I'm just saying, we haven't had that kind of thing in games for a very long time, so I'm just saying, that'd be good. That'd be really good.
The citizens have a need for leisure, and there are different options in the city that can provide it. The leisure options include city outdoor and indoor recreation, which includes parks and plazas, as well as different landmarks and sports venues. Then there is shopping, restaurants, and bars. And last but not least, there is travel. Citizens from outside connections can visit your city as tourists. When they arrive, they stay at the hotel, visit different leisure locations, and spend money in shopping areas. This brings additional income to your city. The different leisure options, such as parks and landmarks, increase your city's attractiveness.
All right, so I suppose this is the part of this whole thing that's most similar to Cities Skylines 1, where each sim is going to need and want things like bars, nightlife, parks, plazas, and visiting sims will want tourist attractions and hotels. If anything, this makes me excited to create specific districts for those things. Some with more of a green initiative with more plazas and parks than on average, some packed with commercial buildings, some with hotels and attractions, and maybe all of them are serviced by a fantastic, affordable transit network. Maybe there's a dedicated service district nearby with police, fire, and medical that are all assigned specifically to those districts. It's safe to say that the mind kind of wanders a little bit when you start to think about all you could potentially do in Cities Skylines 2. Anyway, I think it's about time that we move towards a conclusion for today's entertainment or analysis or deep dive or whatever we want to call these videos. There's definitely been a few times throughout these videos where I've described something as being a bit extra or totally unnecessary but absolutely appreciated in Cities Skylines 2. I think this level of individual citizen simulation is another one of those things, and I mean that in a totally positive, complimentary way. Did Cities Skylines 2 need to go this hard? Probably not. Would we have missed this feature if it wasn't here for us to know about? Again, probably not. Would we have missed Chirper? Yeah, I would have, I'm gonna be honest. I love Chirper. I turn him off every time, but I like having the little bird there. It's always good. Regardless though, now that these features are here, I love it. I love every single one of them. To be honest, it reminds me of so many years ago when we first played Banished on this channel and had different citizens that we would try to keep an eye on and who we would follow through their lives as best we could. And that was always janky. Or it's like playing Stonehearth and having a favorite settler, or any game, any colony management or city builder where you can see the names of people, just following them and having the ones that you like, except this time you can really do that. This time the mechanics are there for you to follow them and see what they're doing and what they think. And that's a feature in a major city building game. You can actually go in, you can actually see what they're doing, you can actually see how they feel and what they think. This kind of thing was sort of possible in some of the SimCity games way back in the day, but I can't really think of any other city builder in the past 2 decades since SimCity 4 released in January of 2003 that has gone this hard with letting you see what your people are doing. But that's just me. What do you think? Are you excited to follow your Sims and see what they've got going on? Let me know in the comments below. Either way, that's going to do us for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.